Karate friends, welcome to Classics in Color, your weekly dive into some of the ancient world's wackiest facts. I'm Mark Graves. Today we're talking about cyborgs in ancient Greece. So I've already done a video on robots using Adrienne Mayer's Gods and Robots. It's an amazing book. If you hadn't read it already, definitely check that out. Today, I'm basically just going to be stealing all her points on cyborgs. So just as like for robots, there's no term or even dedicated concept for robots in ancient Greece or ancient Rome. That's really kind of a modern idea, but when we look at the ancient world, clearly there are robots wandering around occasionally. Same thing with cyborgs. There's no Greek word for cyborg, but when we look at stories in history and myth, people are using inorganic materials to augment and supplement themselves. So we're going to be looking at some of those stories today. I'm going to start with basically Prometheus creating humans for the first time. So this is maybe my favorite example. So Zeus assigns to Prometheus to create all living things, and I think Prometheus gets a little tipsy while he's doing this. So he hands out to tigers, right? They get teeth and claws. Turtles get shells. He hands out to all the animals their own little special thing, but because he's tipsy, he forgets to save something for humans. So when he gets to humans, he's all out of stuff to give them, and to make up for that, he gives them sort of craft, and he teaches them how to build things and to make tools and stuff. And this sort of hints at, according to Adrienne, that humans are sort of cyborgs from the very beginning, from the get-go, because we build all these things to augment ourselves. All these tools are how we function, basically. And eventually Prometheus ends up giving us fire, and there's some amazing images of Prometheus actually building humans. I love these so much. They blow my mind. It looks like he's making humans as robots, like that we are actually robots and we don't know it, you know, kind of like a Battlestar Galactica or Blade Runner or something. So I just love this story, and it implicates a lot of cool things. Next is a story that many of you probably already know. This is Pasiphae and the bull. So Pasiphae is the queen of Minos. They do not get along at all. He has many affairs with servant women in the palace, and she gets annoyed at this. So she curses him to, whenever he ejaculates with the ladies, it comes out as like serpents and scorpions, right? So they die as he's having sex with them, and it's very unpleasant and nasty, obviously. He is annoyed with this, and later when he doesn't return a bowl of Poseidon's that's very special to Poseidon, Poseidon gets annoyed, and then he curses Pasiphae to fall in love, or probably more likely lust, with this sacred bull. So she has got the hots for this bull. She goes to Daedalus and has him build this fancy cow contraption that can move around and that she can climb into and operate, and she has sex with the bull, and that's where we get the Minotaur from. So I think this is just kind of a classic human move, right? To come up with this crazy cool technology that's a little cyborgy, just so that you can have some more sex. Next is Pelops. So Pelops is the son of Tantalus, who's kind of an early human, and he gets a little uppity, a little rebellious against the gods. And he wants to test them, or trick them, or maybe just spite them. And what he does is he kills his son Pelops, chops him up into little bits, cooks him into this fancy meal that he's giving as a feast for the gods. The gods show up, and they know everything, so they can tell that this is human meat. They're very mad at Tantalus, so they punish him in the underworld. He's the one who is, surrounded by trees with apples on them, and the apples will be like right in front of him, and he can't grab it. So, Tantalus. But the gods feel sorry for Pelops, so they basically gather all his pieces together and resurrect him. They bring him back to life, except that Demeter, who was still really sad about Persephone, she hadn't gotten her back yet, apparently she accidentally ate Pelops' shoulder. She wasn't paying attention. So it's interesting to me that the gods, instead of just regenerating his shoulder, which you would think that they could do, they actually give him a shoulder made out of ivory. So I think that's neat. Next is the brazen bull of Akragas. So apparently Akragas was a real tyrant, real nasty, monstrous person, really into torture and fun stuff like that. So he had this bull built that you could put a person up into, but not for sexual reasons, for torture reasons. So when you put the person in the bull, you would then light a fire under it, and they would cook alive, basically. Very Very painful. And then there was some sort of mechanism in the throat or the mouth of the bull that would take their screams, but sort of turn it into a sound that sounded like a bull, that sounded like a lowing noise. So again, humans finding ways to connect humans and technology or robots, but not necessarily for the best. Actually, definitely for the worst in this scenario. Finally, I'm just going to run through some miscellaneous for you here. So there's Icarus and Daedalus, right? They want to escape, so they attach these wings to their back. They fly away. Icarus doesn't make it, but humans are still attaching wings to themselves, which is really cool. And apparently today there's still an Icarus Cup in France that happens every year, so people compete in hang gliding. So bonus fact for you there. Adrian also makes this argument that Roman armor isn't just a sheet of metal. It's specifically shaped in a very particular way. It's not even shaped necessarily like a human body. It's more shaped like an idealized, like heroic or godlike type of body. And she says that it reminds her a lot of Telos, which is a good point. If you look at Telos, who was sort of the first robot story that we have, he was this giant metal man who marched around Crete every day and was a guardian of the city. And she argues that the armor is supposed to make the Romans look like and feel like something maybe a little bit other than human, maybe heroic, maybe robotic, maybe just something to set them apart and to make them look really terrifying and impressive. So she can't really prove that, but I do think it's a really interesting point. And then finally, we have plenty of archaeological remains of things like glass eyes or golden teeth or just different ways that people attach things to their body to help them out in their everyday lives. So we have all kinds of stories from myth, history, and archaeology, which is really cool. Thank you so much for checking out this video on ancient cyborgs. I hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving, and I hope to see you all next week when I should be decorated for Christmas. Special thank you to patrons and subscribers. Karate.